Okay, today, going to do something a little bit different. We've had a lot of guests on and been digging into different platforms, resources, tools, etc. Today, I'm going to share the 5 best scripts, templates, etc. that have worked for me for March, April 2nd, right? So I'm going to share what worked for March to generate appointments and clients, emails, text messages, the voicemail script that I'm using to call new leads and newly engaged or re-engaged leads. And you can take and swipe and deploy these at will, and you should, because the proof is in the pudding. And if they worked for me, it means they should work for you. Maybe not perfectly apples to apples, but we have proof of them working. And I know from doing this stuff for long enough that if it works today or if it worked last month, it'll work this next month. And quite honestly, a lot of these you can rinse and recycle every 30, 60, or 90 days and pretty predictably get similar results. So I've got them in a document. There are a couple that I'll add. I'm going to walk you through. I'll have to add them to the document. I just don't have them loaded in there yet. I'm going to share that document in the chat. I will make sure that the doc gets added in the comments on the live stream as well. If you're watching in the Facebook group, the Wake Up Real Estate Facebook group, give me a thumbs up, A. And if you want to join us in the Zoom room, you can do that at growwithjosh.com/. Sharing these will probably not take the full hour that we typically allocate here, which means we'll have an opportunity, A, for any of you to share what's working for you, whether it's templates, scripts, etc., or things that you might need help with. We can use that time to brainstorm and mastermind, etc. Without further ado, I'm going to get right to them. Let me grab the link to the document. I'll drop that to everyone in the chat. If you're watching this after the fact, you should find the link to the document in the description. If you don't see it there, just go ahead and drop a comment, and I'll make sure that you get the doc so you can swipe and deploy the scripts and templates, etc. as well. A lot of what I'm going to share today, I've been sharing in different forms and fashions. So it's not necessarily new, but I haven't shared it in this way sequentially. Here's what I did at the beginning of the month, middle of the month, end of the month, etc. And so I thought a consolidated version of this would make sense to share with everyone. So now that you should see the document wherever you're watching this. And where did it go? There it is. So let's start with number 1. And this is actually perfect timing because it's early in the month of April, and I haven't sent this one out yet. I will be sending this out next Monday and Tuesday. It is something I send out at the beginning of every month, and it's a perfect follow-up to our session last week. We had Joe Peterson with iList on last week, and we were talking about the instant cash offer platform and the home value dashboard that iList provides to use to provide value and offer options, etc., to the homeowners in your database. If you missed last week, I'll probably link it up here, or just go to the Josh Schoenly Coaching YouTube channel. It's there. If you don't have a free trial with iList, you should check that out as well. growwithjosh.com/iList. I'll get that link in the chat as well. But this is what I would call a 3-step process that I am now using to send the homeowners in my database to check out their home value and cash offer dashboard. So it's an email to drive them there. Then it's a bump text to make sure they got the email to send more people there. And then it's an email sent to those that look at their dashboard. All of that sounds like work. Welcome to the real estate business. The good news is the work you're investing will turn into opportunities if you follow through on it. So this is my process. First week of the month, I send some version of this email. Now, in another document, which now that I'm mentioning it, I'll get that other document linked up here. I actually have 3 versions of the initial email, and I sort of cycle through those different 3 versions. So the version that I'll send for April is the one that I sent in January. Okay. And the one that I send in May will be the same as the one I sent in February. So they're similar, but slightly different. So it's not like the exact same thing. And really, the only difference is a little bit of the wording and the subject line. Okay. So it's not major differences or anything like that. So the subject line for James, let's say, explore your homeowner dashboard. And then in parentheses are regarding this street address. So for James, explore your homeowner dashboard regarding the property address and just the street address. If you can, only merge in the street address. Only because if you put the whole address, it can get super long. And depending on how your platform or what you're using, so I'm using KV Core to send this. And there's a direct integration with iList and KV Core, which iList has direct integrations with lots of platforms. But depending on that platform, when you merge in, if it's the whole address, it can get really long. And sometimes it'll do like the 9-digit version of the zip code and put USA at the end. It just is long. It's too much. Just the street address. It also makes it, to me, when it's structured like that or merged in like that, to me, it seems more spammy. Like it doesn't seem as personal or personable when it's done like that. Okay. So that's the subject line, the body. And I've got a screenshot of what the email looks like when sent, but I also have the actual text in the, oh no, I don't. I'll get that added as well. Sorry about that. I thought I had added in that. I'll get that added as well. So the body, I sent this as a test to myself and it didn't merge in the information. So I screwed this up. What this would normally look like, this right here, okay, where I'm circling, it would say RE : and then the full address there. It'll have the full address there. First name, James. We're extremely excited to help you track your home value / equity and offer you flexible selling options whenever the time is right. What makes our homeowner dashboard so unique? ? Glad you asked. Smiley face. When you go here, and you could say tap, you could change it to tap here, whatever. You'll have access to interactive home values powered by 4 national real estate data platforms, custom and exclusive selling options, and proprietary seller dashboards. I need to play with that bullet. That kind of sounds, I don't know. It's not, yeah. That one could use some work. I might have to chat GPT that. We might have to come up with a better third bullet. Then there is a button. Okay, so this, generally speaking, okay, this is a side note, but generally speaking, I say this a lot on these sessions and otherwise. When you're sending an email, it should be text only. This one can't be text only because we're trying to send them to their dashboard. For that reason, I want to draw attention to the action that I want them to take. So in this instance, I am using the KV Core custom editor and I'm putting the button. So this is a hyperlink and this button goes to the same URL. Now notice that's the only URL though. I don't have a bunch of other links or images or anything else. For this email, the only purpose of this email is to get them to go over to their dashboard, okay? Yes, I have my phone number so that they can call or text me, but nothing else is hyperlinked. There's no other links in there. There's not my goofy profile picture that drives my family crazy. Like, none of that. It's just the one singular call to action, go look at your dashboard. That's the email. Then I send, and I don't know, Joe calls it a bump text. I like that language. You're giving them a little bump or a little nudge. You could call it a nudge text. And all this is designed to do is to make sure that they got the email. The bump text, which I'll send, there's a way you can set this up so that it happens automatically. I just find that this is work worth doing manually. And I don't mean sending individually one to one. I mean, send the email to the whole homeowner portion of your database and then manually send the bump text, which in KV Core you can do in batches of 250 to everyone who's subscribed, who you have a phone number and subscribe to text. What that means is way more people are going to get the email than you're going to be able to text message. Okay, so don't, like when I do this, it'll send like 4,000 emails, But at this point, there's only maybe 1,000 that I can send the bump text to, because either I don't have their cell phone or they've unsubscribed from the text message. That's fine. Don't worry about that. Just do what you can. And I'll give you another example of that. Earlier today, I sent my deal of the week to, and I've been talking about this pretty consistently, the deal of the week strategy. For me, on Tuesdays, I send my land deal of the week. On Wednesdays, I send my master on main or my single floor living deal of the week. And on Thursdays, I send my new construction. So I sent this morning a new construction ranch home. I sent the email to 453, or maybe it was 503. And it was based upon the hashtags that deal of the week would be relevant to. But then when I sent the text, it only went to 93 people. That's fine. Send people whatever you can on whatever mediums they're subscribed to at that point. Like, it's totally fine. So the bump text is as follows. Hey, James, we just emailed you an updated parentheses automated value for your property at, again, just the street address. Let me know if you don't see it in your inbox. Thanks. Now, this text has several functions. Number one, to actually prompt the people who are receiving this to go and find the email that you sent them. And when they go and find that email, you're teaching them to look for your emails, basically, right? You're like training them or coaching them to look for your emails. That's number one. But number two, almost every month that I send this, I get several people that say, I don't see the email. And what that allows me to do is either train them to make sure that my email is no longer in their spam or junk folder, or I get their best email. Because let's face it, you're going to get leads that they give you the email they use for coupons and like special offers and stuff. And so this process, there are so many things that I love about this process, but one of them is you clean up your database. Okay. Will people unsubscribe when you do this? Yes. Who cares? If they unsubscribe, they probably weren't going to they weren't going to transact with you anyway. And I can't tell you the number of people, I don't know. I don't want to get hyperbolic here, but I have lots of examples of people that have unsubscribed and then later still became a client. They unsubscribed for the time being. And then something else prompted them to saw a new ad, they saw a retargeting message, whatever the case may be, right? So who cares? Do not focus on that. What you focus on expands. If you focus on all the people unsubscribing or the nasty replies that you're getting and so forth, what you'll get is more of that. Who cares? Who's next? Who cares? Who's next? Okay? So you send that email, you send the bump text. And then what will happen is this. You send that email in the morning, and that's what I would recommend. Send the email early in the month, early in the week, in the morning. Not early in the morning, but in the morning. Like most of the email analytics that you can find will say that between 9:30 and 11 is a really good time to send an email like this, or just email marketing in general. Okay? Because early morning, just think about you, or this is how I operate early morning. When I go into my inbox early morning, my first thing is I just want to get rid of all the noise that came in overnight. And then what often happens is I'll think, I'll go look at that later. And later oftentimes never comes. Or then I go back one day over the weekend to clean my inbox, and I'm like, I never went back and looked at that. Okay? You don't want to be in that bucket. You don't want to be in the bucket where they're just trying to clear it out. When you show up in their inbox at 9:30 or 10:30 or 11, they might be on break, on their coffee break or whatever, their morning break, or they'll get it at lunchtime and it's up, like it's at the top of the inbox, which seems like it's more of a priority. It's not really, but like I don't know, it feels like to the recipient. So that's when I try to schedule mine after 9, but before 12. That's a good rule of thumb, I think. And then I won't do anything I'll send the email, I'll send the bump text, and then I don't do anything with the people coming to the dashboard until the next day. So then the next morning, during my time block of follow-up, I then send, and this is new, I just started using this in February, and it has already created several listings. Now, they're not actively listed yet. I've shared some of the stories of these, but people who have committed to list with me when that time is right. So, for example, some folks building a new construction home in New York, they just have to wait until they have a better idea of the timeline. We're probably going to list it coming soon in May, actively on the market 1st of June. I have several more that are similar to that. And all of those came about thanks to this follow-up email. Because I'll be very transparent. Before using something like this with the people that are looking at their dashboard, I wasn't really having much luck of turning those people that are clearly, there's a reason why they're interested in looking at their dashboard. I wasn't able to engage them. This email is working great. And so I've been using this with everybody. It is a manual process that I'm doing, but it's been worth it because of the results. So you send this email to the people that look at their dashboard. Subject line, quick question, James. Okay, so merge in their name if you're able to, and you'll be able to because you know who the homeowner is. Looks like you were checking out the value of your property at, again, street address. Just curious. I got to work on this wording too. So here's one of the reasons why I love sharing this is it illuminates for me things that I need to get better at and clean up, right? So we need a better bullet point in that first email, and I need to clean up this sentence. I don't like the way it reads when I read it out loud, which, by the way, that's a great hack. Before you send a text or an email, read it out loud. You'll catch things that you won't catch otherwise if you don't read it out loud. Anyway, just curious, which of these would you say is the most accurate about why you're interested in the value? I guess it's not that bad. It's just, I don't know. It's not quite how I talk, but I'm the one that wrote it, so I don't know. Anyway, A, B, C, D, E. A, I'd like to refinance my mortgage. B, I'd like to get a HELOC, home equity line of credit. I'm thinking about selling sometime in 2025, and I'm going to change this right here. In the next, what do you think? 3 to 9 months? 6 to 9 months? What do we think? 4 to 9? Fernando, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Soon.
I don't think you want to put soon.
Okay.
I don't. Because to me, that seems, I don't know.
Too vague, too open.
Yeah, so soon to some they might think this weekend, and to others they might. So I think, I don't know, 6 to 12 months, 3 to 9 months.
3 to 6 or 9.
Sometime in the next 3, 6, or 9 months. And the only reason I want to do this is every time I've shared this script a couple of times, and when I wrote it, it had just turned to 2025. So the first time I used it was February. It makes sense, but like halfway through 2025, it still would make sense. I don't want to put out a script that people then, whatever, that it could be 2026 and you're still using one that says 2025 and you don't realize it because it's a template that you added in your CRM. So stay tuned on that, but I think 3, 6, or 9 months probably makes sense. D, I'd like to challenge my tax assessment. I haven't had anybody mention that, but I do know in some markets, in some areas, that's a value proposition that agents make to connect with homeowners, right? It's that time of year again. We've been helping some of our past clients challenge their tax assessment, so that one's in there. E, I'd like to remove my mortgage insurance. Just hit reply and let us know.
Josh, I've got a suggestion for you.
Fire away.
On C, what you're really looking for is 2 things you want to check for and follow up. One is timing, one is motivation. So to help with C, I know you want to keep the list short, but you might want to break that up into 2 questions. One, I'm thinking about selling sometime in the next 6 months or sometime in the next 6 to 12.
So here's what's interesting. That's a great point. I think 5 is the most options you should use. And also, I think when using this, pick the 4 or 5 that make the most sense to you. So Kathy says, just say, I'm thinking about selling, and just leave it open like that. There might be something to that. For Richards, in fact, here's what I'm going to commit to do. I'm going to send this sequence next week. I'm going to tweak this, and what I will likely do is remove the challenge my assessment, and what I'm going to replace it with, I'm thinking about selling sometime in the next 6 to 12 months versus need to sell as soon as possible. So I'll play with it. The more important takeaway, in my opinion, is that this email structure, text only, survey style, is working wonderfully well as a follow-up mechanism. So much so that I've been meaning to do this and I haven't yet, but I'm going to. The behavioral automation that is built into KV Core, I'm going to add an email like this to follow up with buyers that are coming back to look at properties. that asks a series of questions. Now, obviously, it won't be about them checking out their value, but just curious, which of these would you say is the most accurate about why you were back on the site looking at listings? I'm thinking about buying a home in the next 3 to 6 months. I'm just curious what homes are selling for in that neighborhood. I don't know what those options will be. I'll certainly share it once I craft it. A couple of things. The structure is what's working. And B, when you find something that's working like this, find as many ways possible to use the idea and information, right? So I think we've beaten a dead horse here. Go ahead, James.
What about using a Google survey questionnaire?
I would not.
It's adding an extra link in that.
If you do that, here's what I can guarantee. I can virtually guarantee that if you do that, no one will do it because you're already sending it to a smaller list of people. So I'm not saying it wouldn't be valuable to do that strategy in some form or fashion, but if you want people to go and fill out information on a survey, that would be the top level email that I would send. And also, that's just what I would do. And also, here's why I like this strategy here is it just becomes personal. And why it's working is people just reply and they say, see, and then I can continue the conversation, right? Versus technology is wonderful, but sometimes we use it too much and create too much friction between what we really want, which is just a conversation, right? If we want a client, we got to have a conversation of some kind. This makes it easy. So we provide something valuable to them, and then we just follow up to have a conversation. So again, I'm not against using actual surveys, whether it's a Google form or SurveyMonkey, et cetera. I've used them in my business. I've used them in my business of helping other real estate agents, coaching, training, et cetera. And I've used them in my business of trying to attract and get into conversation with buyers, sellers, et cetera. So there's certainly proof of concept there. I wouldn't use it in this specific scenario personally. Thanks for James for pointing that out though. Okay. Any other questions about this sort of 3-step one before I get to some of the others that I wanted to share? Because I'm already way more long-winded than I anticipated. We're 25 minutes in already. Okay. So I only have a couple others that I want to share because I wanted to open it up for others to share what's working or get help, et cetera. This one has worked really well. And I shared this one, I think on one of these sessions. If not, it was on a live, something or other. Credit where credit is due. I ripped this off of Jimmy Mackin, listingleads.com. And I sent this out to some homeowners in my KV Core database 2 weeks ago, and it worked wonderfully well. So well, this week, I've been sending out more through my ProEd CRM. That's where I have like for sale by owner and expired data, et cetera. And I got an appointment this morning. I scheduled an appointment from a conversation this morning from this text. I have one pending from yesterday from this text, and I have about 6 others that I'm in following up with. They engaged, and then I sent a personal video message as the next step to give them an idea of what the offer options would look like. So it works, is the long and the short of it. It works so well that this is one that I absolutely will rinse and repeat every 60 to 90 days. And when I do, I might mix it up a little bit. For example, when I sent this one out a couple of weeks ago, I said 60 to 90 days. What I'm sending today, because we're all it's as silly as it sounds, it's 2 weeks later than 2 weeks ago, but it's April now. So it feels more like the spring market. So I shortened it from 60 to 90 days to 30 to 60 days. I don't know, splitting hairs, right? The next time I send it, it'll be similar, but I'll tweak it a little bit. Okay. Hey, James, I know this is probably the wrong time, but we've been talking with a lot of buyers who are very serious about buying in the next 60 to 90 days. Would you be open to the idea of selling if you got a great offer? Let me know. Thanks, Josh. That email, same thing, subject line. And you can play with the subject line here. Open to a great offer, ? For, and again, street address only. Hey, James, I know this is probably the wrong time, but we've been talking with a lot of buyers who are very serious about buying in the next 60 to 90 days. Would you be open to the idea of selling if you got a great offer? Let me know. Thanks, Josh. And this is true. We got a whole bunch of buyers. I got a whole bunch of buyers. My whole whiteboard over here is filled up with either pre-approved and looking or people that are interested. Okay. Not only that, we have these institutional buyers through the iList platform. So I got lots of buyers. This isn't a bait and switch. This is real. Okay. I don't want you to use this if you truly don't, but most of you do in some way or form or fashion. You've got buyers in your office, right? There's any number of ways that you can make good on this offer. Questions about this one? This one's pretty straightforward. And again, it gets you in conversation with the homeowners in your market. And quite honestly, I've got a lunch. It's also a great way to clean out your database because I got a bunch of people that are like, I already sold that property. What's a great offer? Not interested at all. We're never moving ever. We're going to die here. I get those replies. Who cares? Who's next? All right. Last one, and then I want to open it up. This one I used last week to the buyer portion, the unconverted buyers in my database. And I will say that I sent it as a text, but I got no replies. And I think somehow or another, it got like ghosted or something. Because there's no way. I got so many replies to the email that it's impossible for me to imagine that I wouldn't have gotten responses to text. And I think because I'm talking about low interest rate and even a percentage, I think it must have gotten blocked by certain carriers and maybe all of the carriers. So I may need to figure out how can I reformulate this to send by text. Okay. But what I do know for sure is I sent it out Saturday morning. It went out at 7:02 out of my KB core. And I was at my daughter's basketball tournament. And I had multiple people text me from the email. And I had lots of people that I was having email conversations with. It's turned into at least 7 phone and in-person appointments so far. Now, some of them are people we can't help. Credit score or whatever else, right? I'm not claiming that it's 7 rock solid clients, but all we can ask for is a conversation, right? If you're generating leads and you've got a database of unconverted people, you just got to find ways to start conversations, and this worked really well. Just curious, James, if we were able to get you an interest rate at or even below 5% when buying a new home, would you be interested in seeing how that's possible? Let us know. Thanks, Josh. Okay. So how am I making good on that? Because I know I've been doing this long enough that if you're not confident in how you would take the positive response and continue it forward, you won't use it. So there are 2 builders in my market offering incentives for qualified buyers as low as 4.875%. And also, I know that with our mortgage team, if we can negotiate seller credit, we can permanently buy down the rate on many loan products. So there's multiple ways you can make good on this, but what prompted me to send it was the 2 local builders that are offering these incentives. Questions, comments?
Yeah, Josh, I'd like to add to that even more with FHA and VA loans. Those are assumable as well. So when you're talking to your clients, you can say, hey, it's a long shot, but we can also shop for these properties and we can ask if they're open to us assuming it, because a lot of them do have a 2.75, 3%, 3.5% interest rates. And I actually met a lender that will bridge, because the biggest drawback to that is bringing in the difference, right, between the loan and the value. And he'll bridge that gap if you have up to 10% down. And so you end up having a blended rate. Like the one I was just selling, it was a 2.75% interest rate. He had over $100,000 in equity. The blended rate between the gap and the 10% that they was going to be needed, it was still like a 3.8% interest rate. It was really great. So that's another option.
So I'm going to throw a caveat or asterisk on this one. I will say that when you're talking about rates, you do have to be careful. So I ended up emailing this. I tried to text it. It didn't go through, or at least I don't think it did, because again, I didn't get any replies to it, which to me tells me, and I sent it to at least hundreds, if not thousands, or I tried to. When you're talking about rates, you can get into some gray area with what you can legally be marketing. And so I did a live, I think Sunday night, talking about how I was going to take, now that I had evidence that this works, I was going to take it and figure out a whole bunch of different ways for me to leverage it, because I know that it works. And I just got a little bit panicked, in part because I am licensed LO. And so because I'm a licensed LO, the rules are a little bit different for me. Okay. They're a little bit, I don't know. I just got a little bit uncomfortable with it. So I didn't go and post this on Nextdoor, et cetera. But I will, if we have time, I'll show you what I did post earlier, taking the idea, but doing it in a way, or presenting it in a way that I was a little bit more comfortable with, that to me was less potentially going to be a red flag or problematic because I was talking about rates. And what I mean by that is if you go and look at the builders that are offering that, there's a whole giant paragraph of fine print, right? And that's why I try to weave in qualified buyers, et cetera. It's not in this script because this is just about opening a conversation, and this is only being emailed to people already in my database. But there is, I guess, the bigger takeaway, because I always try to share these things, is look at the structure of this and find other ways that you can use it. So you make a compelling offer and then simply ask, would you be interested in seeing how that's possible? Would you be open to exploring this more? So you make a compelling offer, then you open up the door to, would you be open to chatting about this? Anyone else? So a couple of things we'll open it up for. Oh, you know what? Before I do that, I forgot. The voicemail script. And I'm going to add that to the document. When you are calling new leads, and if you're generating leads, or if you are interested in leveraging our marketing team to help you build a pipeline of new leads, which, by the way, you can check out an on-demand presentation on that at buildwithjosh.com, buildwithjosh.com. But if you're investing time and money to generate new leads, you should call them, okay? You should call them. Most of them won't answer. You should also, I'm saying this is what I'm personally doing. So most days, I won't say every day because things get in the way sometimes, but most days, either in a morning time block or an afternoon time block, I'm calling all my new leads, and B, all of the leads that have come back, all of the leads that are showing up on my KV Core dashboard. They came back to look at properties. They were looking at a market report. They maybe requested an updated home value. Any of those are fair game. And I will call them. And I've tried several scripts. I've tried a lot of different stuff. This is what's working best for me right now. I can't promise anything, but this is the voicemail script that's working best for me right now. And then we can chat about what do I say when they answer too, if that would be helpful. It's not, prepare to be underwhelmed. Here goes. Hey, James, it's Josh. Just have a quick question for you when you have a minute. Give me a buzz or shoot me a text. That's it. Hey, James, it's Josh. Just have a quick question for you when you have a minute. Give me a buzz or shoot me a text. And then if I'm making those calls through KV Core, which I am, most of the time I'm using the app. So when you call through the app, it'll take you to a screen where you can finish the call. And so I will, if I leave a voicemail, there's a top middle, you hit not home, you hit left a voicemail, and then unless they're a new lead, so I don't do this part with new leads because they're already on a smart campaign, so they're going to get more messaging from me, and I don't want to be too over the top. But if I'm calling a lead that just came back to look at the properties for the first time in 2 weeks or something like that, I will then send them an email and a text. I'm going to get all of this added to the document, by the way. The script, the voicemail script, and the email script, and the text script. I will get it added to the document as soon as we're done here. The email and the text basically said, hey, I just left you a voicemail. That's pretty much it, okay? But that combination of things has gotten me a drastic boost in the amount of people that actually respond. Now, what's the quick question? Is anybody wondering that? Okay, maybe not. So the quick question for new leads is, hey, just making sure you got the thing you asked for. Hey, just wanted to make sure you got the list of new construction homes in Mechanicsburg that you had requested last night. That's it. Right? And then depending on how warm and friendly they are, I might ask more questions. If they're very standoffish, I tend to back off a little bit. I'll let the automation and their behavior dictate when I reach back out. But if they're warm and friendly, I might then ask, is there something specific you're looking for? Would you prefer a single family or a townhome or condo? Like just asking clarifying questions. And the quick question, if they're coming back to look at properties, just curious what brought you back to the site, just like that. And if I've talked to them before, so that's somebody that I have no notes on, I have nothing on. But if I have notes on somebody and I know that maybe I talked to them 3 months ago and they said they were 6 or 9 months out or whatever the case may be, I might ask, the other version I might ask is, just curious where you're at with the home search. Just curious where you're at with the home search. That's it. I'm not trying to overcome objections or anything like that. I'm just genuinely trying to have a service-based conversation. All right. I'm looking at the right-hand side here for the chat and the questions. Celeste, love this idea. As most people I don't even know about the alternative financing possibilities. I think this is for the assumables. I will say, I think it's a great offer and tool to create conversation opportunities. In practicality, it is difficult to make those work. Not impossible, but I would relate it. I don't have this data to say this with certainty, but I would relate it to someone requesting a cash offer. The data says that when a homeowner requests a cash offer, there's a 3 to 5% chance that they'll actually proceed with that cash offer. But the data also says that 40 to 45% of them are going to sell their property in the next 6 to 9 months, just not with a cash offer. They're going to list it or for sale by owner or whatever. And so if you're going to use the idea of assumable mortgages to create conversations or to get hand raisers, just know that it's unlikely that's what will actually happen. It's not an easy path, but it is a great way to demonstrate unique value and your market level expertise. I don't know where this is on my channel at this point, but with PropStream, you can filter on market properties where there's an FHA or a VA loan, assumption options. Like they could be. Now, will the homeowner entertain that? I don't know, because they have to be open to it too. But that is one way that because we had Burton on and we were talking about, a lot of times when we have Burton on and we're talking about PropStream, we're talking about off-market filtering, finding off-market options. But there are some cool use cases for how you can use it, and it's a little bit easier, at least versus Bright. And maybe some MLSs you can filter by some of this stuff. In Bright, I can't. There are things that I can filter for in PropStream that I can't in Bright. So that's a use case for us. James, thanks for sharing that. There is a assumelist.com as a resource for that.
It searches both on and off market, where I think Rome is just on. So you can really dig in and do what we call our dream home finder program.
Yep.
If somebody's got a very specific type of home in a certain area, we could go market and maybe drum up some other sellers.
Yeah.
By reaching out to them.
Celeste said, and it's how you say it, Josh, the hesitation doesn't feel like a script. I did that on purpose. So kudos, Celeste. I purposely, when I was saying the question that I would ask, I'm intentionally slowing my pace and hesitating. Because when you talk fast, either on voicemail or when you're speaking with them, you sound like a fast-talking salesperson. It's just the reality. And not only that, when you speak fast, people can't process what you're saying, and you don't give them room to actually give you a real answer. It's uncomfortable if you've never done it before, but it is way more effective, and you'll just find that I have fun with it now. I like the little bit of uncomfortable silence, and I find that oftentimes they then end up opening up and sharing a lot more than they would have. It doesn't happen immediately with everybody, but usually they'll start to, right, exactly. Celeste says they want it something. If you open up the space, somebody's going to fill the gap. Let them be the one that fills that gap, that space that you open up.
I was just watching, I don't know if you guys know about Jefferson Fisher. He's an attorney, trial attorney, and he's coaches people. He's really good at like dealing with narcissistic people and whatnot. And he was talking about this interview on the Diary of a CEO podcast about that, slowing things down to kind of stay in control. So it's a great one. I'll put a link to it in the.
It's a good reminder for me too, because though the voicemail script is short, I am probably saying it too fast. So you even want to have the hesitation and try not to speak too fast, even in the voicemail. The other reason why I think it is valuable, if you're making the calls, and I'm sure some coaches and trainers will tell you don't leave a voicemail, but if you're taking the effort to do that, I think you should leave a voicemail, because there's a whole bunch of reasons, but let me give you one, I think, very practical reason. On almost everyone's phones now, the voicemail is transcribed. When you say their name, even if they don't listen to it, they see that this is someone that actually said their name versus the spam calls that we all get that there's no personalization or anything. So the likelihood that they then will listen to it goes up because you said, "Hey, Shay," Just had a quick question for you. Hey, Shay, it's Josh. Just had a quick question for you. Let me know when you have a minute. Shay, you opened your line, and I know you're a master on the phone, so come on, drop some bars.
I wanted to piggyback on that. I follow up with my SOI and my clients constantly, and in a lot of ways ask them what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, because honestly, I don't care what strangers think. If it's my SOI, they're the ones that are going to give me that honest, hardcore truth. And for a while, I wasn't leaving voicemails, and I got a number of people saying that it at least gave the impression that it was like robocalling, and it was a little bit too separated from true service and that relationship building. Even if it's a quick, hey Josh, this is Shay, just trying to get a hold of you, say hi, see how things are going, or the birthday videos that I send every morning. Josh, happy birthday. Hope things are going well. I'd love to take you a coffee or something. It's been a hot minute. We haven't talked in a while. I did notice on Facebook you just finished your deck. It's looking kind of fantastic. I'd love to get together, go to a barbecue or something. Hit me up. Something like that, even something small. It's relationship building. It's not, hey, let me sell, let me give you your money.
Yeah.
That relationship comes through. So I would say always take that 20 seconds to leave a voicemail. And I Facebook the hell out of people, not in a creepy way, but before I'm making a call, I want to know what they're into, what they're doing. And it just helps show that you care. You're not there just to build business. You're not there for a paycheck. You're there to take care of them. So I would say always leave a voicemail, always do your birthday videos and stuff like that. Because if you're just pushing them for business all the time, they're going to tune you out. But if you show them that you're a good friend that happens to sell real estate, I think that's a much better place to be.
Also, happy birthday to you. Happy
Oh,
birthday
thank
to
you.
you. Happy birthday, dear Shay. You mentioning happy birthday made me remember that today's your birthday.
It is. I
So,
appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah, happy birthday,
Nice.
brother.
Happy birthday. Thanks.
So we got there were a couple of things that I missed in the chat. One of them is Shay mentioned, I like the challenge. I get a ton of people. This is related to the home value sequence and specifically how you follow up with those. I get a ton of engagement from challenging people to look at Shay uses HomeBot for their value and offering to remove them if it's not helpful. Very few people end up wanting to remove them and their engagement skyrockets. And so I think there's something there in my 5 options email that might make sense to do. The other version that I haven't included in that document because I haven't used it in a while, so I'm going to test this again. HomeBot gives them one value and it's super helpful, etc. If you're using iList, they will get 4 different values. And so one follow-up you could ask different than that survey is, which of the 4 values do you think is most accurate? And they may say none of them. They're all terrible. But who cares? So that's another version of that. And in fact, one of the dilemmas that I'm getting to, it's not a huge dilemma, but I don't want to be sending that same email to the same people if they're looking at their dashboard there are certain people that look at their iList dashboard every time I email them and then sending them the same follow-up email every month. Eventually they're like, is this a robot or is this whatever? Step 3 of that process, right? So there's the email to get them to look at their dashboard. There's the bump text, and then there's the follow-up email to the engaged. That follow-up email, I need to have a little variety to it. Also, that shorter script works great as another text. So you see that they looked at their dashboard. Hey, it looks like you were checking out your home value dashboard. Which of the values, in your opinion, is most accurate? And if you're not using iList and it's just one value, Shay, I know that you have a lot of, hey, I don't know what your exact script is for that, but I know that you get a lot of engagement by just giving them the opportunity to challenge it, basically.
I can challenge in a lot of different ways. If someone hasn't, HomeBot will show you if someone's cool, if they haven't looked at it in 2 or 3 months, or if someone's unsubscribed or what have you. And I jump in on all of those. Like just this morning, before I got in this call, I had someone unsubscribed from my HomeBot, and I sent them a text that said,
His name is John. Well, John, I saw that you unsubscribed from HomeBot. I'm always looking to improve and never clutter up people's inboxes. Would you mind telling me what it was about HomeBot that you didn't like? If your valuation was wrong, if the details on your home was wrong, or for whatever reason you didn't like it, as I'd love to improve that and provide better service moving forward within 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And while we were on the call here, he sent me a text. He's like, can you turn that back on for me? I actually really like it. I didn't realize what you were sending. I really liked that. Do you think that evaluation is accurate? And would you mind coming to take a walkthrough? I was like, this is exactly what I wanted. This couldn't
Right.
have been any better. So I'm going to follow up with him after this call and set up a time to go walk through his home. And if someone wants you to walk through, they're at least playing with the idea of actually cashing out. They're not going to have you as a stranger walk through.
Yeah.
To answer your other question about not wanting to send the same follow-up texts after they look at your valuation through iList, I don't know if iList does the same way HomeBot does, but HomeBot sends me an email every Monday for who's been highly engaged. And I check every Monday as part of my load up for the week anyway. And I'll send them a personal text through Katie Core and just let them know, or a video, usually a video text saying, I see that you've been looking at this a whole lot. Are you finding that your valuation's fine? Are you wondering what in the neighborhood that has changed has affected your value? I'd love to take you to coffee and talk about it. And I've had a number of different coffees and a couple listings over the last months with people just engaging. A couple people raised their hands. I had 2 last month that said they were looking to buy a home in the next 3 months.
Yeah.
And I listed one, and I have a listing appointment on Friday to hopefully list the other one. So I would just say, look at that report and just customize it, taking 20, 30 seconds to send a text message or a video text saying, hey, I'm glad you're looking at this. Do you have any questions about it? Is there anything that I can do to improve it? Because I'm sure the iList HomeBot is pretty open to feedback. And I've sent a bunch of different feedback options to them, and they've implemented a few of them. So
iList will tell you who's looking at their, like in your, when you log into your console, you can see who's been looking at their property, and it'll give them a fire emoji if they've looked multiple times. So you can filter and see, oh, this person's so similar in that functionality.
I'm also testing my home IQ as well right now. And so I'll let you know how that works as well, because I'm kind of split testing them.
Do you recommend using the wrong time email or text if you only have institutional buyers? Yeah, absolutely. If I only have institutional buyers interested in that property, hey, these are some of the preliminary offers from the institutional buyers that we represent here in Central Pennsylvania. The reality is this is a good starting point, but if maximizing your equity is really what you're looking to do, we can use these institutional buyers as leverage to get you even higher on market offers. Is that something you'd be open to exploring in a little more detail? Absolutely. I think you can and should use that in every way possible. A couple other things, and then I have appointments, and I try to keep these to 60 minutes if I can, but there were a couple of good things here. Celeste mentioned you could also use Zillow to mention that you saw their home value on Zillow and then ask, I was wondering what your opinion is. I know I have one. So Zillow is one of the home value estimates on the iList dashboard. So you could pick one of them and play up that. Hey, it looks like your Zestimate came back at this amount. I have my thoughts on how accurate that is. I'm curious what yours are. I think that's a great strategy as well. Celeste asked if this is recorded. They're always recorded. They're available immediately after in the Wake Up Real Estate Facebook group, and then I edit them to take out the ums and the uhs and all the uncomfortable ways that I repeat myself and things of that nature, and make the audio even a little bit cleaner, etc. And those get posted on the Josh Schoenly YouTube channel every Thursday morning as well, so you can come back and check them out as often as you'd like. Somebody was going to chime in there. I don't know who that
was. Celeste mentioned a couple times to try to eliminate the word just. And I've heard some sales coaches say, not to do that. It's a positioning thing. Oh,
I'm just asking.
so
Was I saying? I must have been saying that. I didn't even
Well,
realize that I was.
It's in your script there.
Which one?
Just curious.
Oh,
That
so
one.
just get rid of the, just say
Yeah.
curious.
Just yeah, I'm curious. Yep.
Good shout. I will get rid of that. There is something to that
Yep.
for sure. Thank you, Celeste. I'll clean that up. So what I'm going to do with the document, for those that are curious, not just curious, but curious, I will add the voicemail script and the bump email and text that I will send, not the new leads, but the old leads that are coming back. I'll remove the justs from that and probably add one or two other scripts that we had just came up as we were going through here. If you're watching this after the fact and you can't find the document with the scripts, drop a comment or just reach out to me. I'm happy to share that. And next week, we have one of the, and this is not hyperbole, he is one of the premier luxury real estate agents in the world, is coming to our mastermind to walk you through how you can break into the luxury real estate market. If that's something that you would be interested in or just curious about on any level, it should be a great one. Mark that down. The masterminds every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern. You can join us live in the Zoom room, growwithjosh.com/MM. Thomas, I did not see your question until late in the session. If it's okay with you, I'm going to answer your question in the form of a video, probably tomorrow on a live, and I'll make sure to share it with you as well. He was asking if there's a strategy or a best practice for importing old leads in such a way that can be text messaged. So I will definitely take care of that and address that. I just missed it until the end. And quite honestly, it's its own standalone topic that bears its own walkthrough. Shay, thanks for sharing. James, I appreciate your help. Celeste and Fernando and anyone else that I missed. Julian, the one talking about the assumables. All of those that shared and asked questions and clarified, I appreciate it. Please, I don't do these to entertain. I share these things because I want you all to win. So actually take this stuff and use it. Like today, so you can get into more conversations and ultimately help more home buyers and sellers in your market. If you are interested in how you can leverage our 5-figure-a-month marketing team to grow and scale your business, just to check out the on-demand presentation at buildwithjosh.com. And hope to see you next week breaking into the luxury real estate market.